Assalamualaikum and a very good evening to all who are watching through FB Live or even through Zoom itself. All right, so tonight our special guest is Dr. Muhammad Nurman Yaman, who will be talking to us about taking medicine in general itself. So to introduce first, our special guest he is a Ketua Jabatan of Jabatan Pendidikan Perubatan in Pusat Perubatan Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia. So he holds a very high position and is someone who knows a lot and may be able to answer most of your questions for tonight with regards to taking medicine. All right, so before we start, let's bless the event by reciting Al-Fatiha. All right, the stage is yours.
Okay, semua dengar eh? Okay, I would like to share my screen please. Okay, semua nampak eh? Okay, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirrabbilalamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Pertama sekali, I would like to say first of all to say thank you to the organizing committee and also to the moderator Nur Iman Nabiha for inviting me to talk a bit on the career as a medical doctor to our beloved, I would say anak-anak lah okay. My time at my age will be anak-anak lah, dulu adik-adik. So first of all, my name is Dr. Muhammad Nurman Yaman, currently holding the post of Head Department of Medical Education in Faculty of Medicine UKM. And I'm an Ansara typing SPM 1996, class of 1996. Okay, so my nombor metrik lah 95162. Ingat lagi. First of all, pagi tadi kan, I will conduct my talk in both language lah, BM dan BI. Pagi tadi kita dikejutkan dengan satu berita lah, yang mana Cikgu Rohimi telah meninggalkan kita untuk selama-lamanya. Dan agak terkejut ni kerana dia juga cikgu kepada rakan-rakan batch saya lah. Dan saya pun tengok juga talk semalam by Encik Anwar, dan dia juga homeroom teacher ni adalah Cikgu Rohimi. So dengan itu mari kita just baca Al-Fatihah untuk arwah Cikgu Rohimi. Semoga Allah mencucur rahmat ke atas ruh Allah yang rahmah. Al-Fatihah. Okay, so just a quick of myself before I start the medical, the session in general. Currently this year I'll be 42 years old, married with Dr. Janatul Madiha. Got 3 lovely children. The first one is my daughter. She will be Form 4 this year. She's currently in MRSM Gemenceh. Second is Danish, will be Form 1 this year, and Sumayyah will be 6 years old this year. And apart from my own family, I have my other family because I'm quite involved in NGOs. So there's 3 logos there. Matthew Mai is, I think some of you will know about Perang Melawan Mitos and everything. So it's Matthew Mai. I'm one of the members. I'm also member of my medical education committee, MIMS, and also PAPISMA. And I'll try to involve as much as I can in in volunteering, and one of it is in 2019, where I was alhamdulillah given an opportunity by Allah to do my Hajj and involved in the Sukarelawan Andalusia lah, become under the whole Sukarelawan as well as the medical team for Jemaah Andalusia. So these are my families. Okay, this is my timeline. I was in MRSM typing in 1995 and 1996. Top left is pictures of dulu dipanggil LPM lah, sekarang ni LDP kan. Dulu LPM Lembaga Pengawas Maktab. At the time we wear baju kelabu, seluar hitam, unlike now. I'm PKP batch number 5. Then after that, alhamdulillah, Allah bagi rezeki to go for a direct program, Adamara. So graduating mid-December 96. On the 9th of January, fly to UK. Arrive at 10th of January, and January is the first Ramadan on that year. To go to Bosworth College for my A-level. Then after that, I went to do my medicine in University of Sheffield until December 2003. Then I start working in the UK as a houseman for 1 year lah, 6 months, and then continue with senior house officer from August 2005 to July 2006. Then I've decided might as well just go home because at that time I got married in my 4th year, so I have my daughter in March 2005. So that's when I did Form 4 kan. Okay. So decided to go home and join UNIMAS under Department of Surgery. Mungkin jodoh tak panjangan dengan surgery. I've decided to pursue Master in Medical Education in UKM. And then once graduated Master of Medical Education, I was given a chance to work in UKM from UNIMAS. So I became a lecturer in DOME ni, Department of Medical Education, Fakulti Perubatan UKM from January 2012 until now. And in September 2015 until June 2019, I did my PhD and graduated November 2019, and also been given the responsibility to be the quality coordinator of my faculty. Then during my PhD years, I was given appointed as a member of Undergraduate Education Committee under the Medical Education Committee of Malaysian Medical Council. And from January 2020 until now, I've been appointed as a HOD Department of Medical Education. Just brief pictures. Top right is all the medical student daripada MARA lah, tajaan MARA Direct Program yang pergi ke Northampton lah, kami buat A-level. Ramainya dah jadi pakar. Macam Dr. Hafizul yang baju hitam tu, in my department, he's a surgeon. Dr. Anim Shah, she's a nephro in UPM, dan ramai lagi dah, semua dah jadi pakar. And then yang paling hebat ni lah, Dr. Ozali ni lah. He's a actual science person. Okay. So, and gambar kanan bawah tu, the top one is my master ceremony and the PhD. Alright. So a quick disclaimer, because I'm holding quite a number of committee posts. What I'm going to present today is my personal view and not the view of UKM or even the professional board committee subcommittee. So my aim of presentation, Iman dengar jelas sound check okay, good. So my aim for this is just a quick introduction to the life of a medical student and practitioner. To understand the requirement to be a medical student and practitioner, and then aware of the career pathway of a medical practitioner and aware of specialization option in medicine, and a bit of tips and advice regarding career in medicine. So why medicine? I think most of you, it's the same lah, sama je rasanya daripada dulu ke kini because I've been handling student intake since 2013. So most of them will say it's a childhood ambition, dari kecil nak jadi doktor, tengok nenek sakit, datuk sakit, mak sakit, bapak sakit, cousin sakit, anak saudara sakit semua. So it's a childhood ambition. some of them are amazed to see doctors, rasa macam orang yang sangat penting. Dia sangat penting tu, then they want to get a name in the committee. And then obviously there are always parents' requests. I would say unfortunately lah, parents' requests. And some want to be rich. Saya pernah pergi ke SPKG lah, saya tak nak sebut tempat dia. Tapi ada seorang tu jawab kenapa nak jadi doktor, sebab saya nak drive kereta Porsche. So that person want to be rich, want to live comfortably, and I think most of the respondents will say an occupation that able to stand whatever economic condition. Bila-bila masa pun orang sakit kan, okay? Including now in the COVID-19 pandemic era. So main criteria to be doctor, ini yang paling penting. Number one is you must have a high interest in this profession. Bukan minat-minat gitu-gitu saja nak try. No, it has to be a high interest in medicine. Because everyone can pass the exam, but not everyone can work as a doctor. And you have a nature of helping people. And one thing is you shouldn't be afraid of blood lah. Even though maybe after houseman atau early years of your clinical years, you can do nothing with blood. You're willing to work regardless of time and place, and you must have an excellent communication skills and with good organizational skills. And there are 6 words perkataan yang paling penting lah. You must be sincere, kena jujur, ikhlas. You must be patient to be doctors. You must be patient, kena sabar ni. Sabar kepada diri sendiri sebab diri sendiri nak maju. Sabar kepada pesakit sebab pesakit akan banyak kerenah. Sabar kepada senior akan banyak kerenah di serta sendiri. Macam iklan tertengah ni lah, iklan ni daripada iklan P.Ramlee kan. Kebolehan tahan maki tu. Dia bukanlah nak kata tahan maki, tapi kena sabarlah, and you have to think positive about it and have some sort of cooperation and professionalism towards the thing is happening around you lah. Tak boleh nak kata yes, some environment are toxic, I do admit, but some is a challenge for you to take up to make you even better. You never know until you have gone through that. So life as doctor, most of you will be in the second box. Primary education 6 years. Your education years, secondary education is in the 5 years. Then you proceed to your foundation, matriculation, A-level, IB is an international baccalaureate, and even also some of you will go for STPM for 1 to 2 years. Then you will do your medical degree. In Malaysia, it will be between 5 and maximum of 7 years. Kat Malaysia ni dia ada maximum, dia tak boleh nak repeat sampai mati, tak boleh. They have a time limit after 7 years. If you cannot finish your medical degree in 7 years, then bye-bye for you lah. Unlike overseas can continue. And then you will be working as a house officer for 2 years, then medical officer for 2, and God knows how long you will be there. Depends on your plan, which I will explain later during this presentation. Okay. So your study pathway usually is a lower education, 11 plus 2, so 13 years. Then your university education, 5 to 7 years. And the main thing is your career life lah. Housemanship, officer, either you go to become a general practitioner, a specialist trainee, or even a specialist and consultant. So it's a lifelong learning for you. And if you decided to choose medicine, I'll talk about in Malaysia now. There are quite a number of medical schools in Malaysia that provide a medical degree program. It's an undergraduate degree program. This I think ni yang most updated lah rasanya setakat yang saya tahulah. So public medical school is UKM. Number one, I will always put my UKM first. Then Universiti Malaya, University Sains Malaysia. So UKM will be in KL, UM will be in KL, USM will not be in Penang but in Kubang Kedian, Kelantan. Okay, jangan terkejut tiba-tiba sampai kenapa Kelantan USM kan. So you must remember lah. Okay, UPM will be in Serdang, UNIMAS in Kuching, UIA is not in Gombak but in Kuantan. UiTM in Sungai Buloh Selayang, UMS in Kota Kinabalu, USIM now will be in Nilai. They just moved from Ampang. Okay, UPNM in Sungai Besi, Uniza in Terengganu, Gong Badak saja. Okay, so the one is public medical schools. Public medical schools, nanti saya ceritalah. And for private medical schools, there are International Medical University, IMU, MSU, Management and Science University. UOC ni is a new name for CUCMS, Cyberjaya, University of Cyberjaya, UCSI, Monash, KIMU, KL, MSU, KL, UOC, Cyberjaya, UCSI, Terengganu macam juga. Monash, Johor, Sunway, KL, RCMP, Royal College of Medicine, Perak. This is MARA on RCMP. Dulu dia ASMC, Asian Sheffield Medical College, sebelum dia bertukar tangan beberapa kali. Dulu I was initially was in the program lah. Kalau perasan saya punya degree is University of Sheffield. There is a Asian Sheffield Medical Program punya partnership lah. So my batch, my senior is the last batch who transferred to ASMC lah, Asian Sheffield Medical College. Then after that, when they asked us to come, but something, I mean, obviously at that time ada kegawatan ekonomi in 1998. So we stay put, and then SMC then owned by, and then banyak lagi lah dia punya cerita, and now under Uni KL called RCMP, and then MMMC is Melaka Manipal Medical College, IMS. QUIP will be Quest in Ipoh. Unisham is the new name for Kuin, Kedah. Masa, Tellus, Lincoln, Seji, RUMC is the new name for PMC, Penang Medical College. Dia ubah kepada RCSI, UCD Medical College. NUMED is Newcastle Branch, Newcastle University Branch in Johor. UNITA, Tuan Abdul Rahman. AMU is Asian Metropolitan, Asian Metropolitan Code lah. Lepas tu Perdana University yang ada graduate entry, and Widat, the owner is Syah Putra. So there are 11 public medical schools and 20 plus private medical schools in Malaysia. And there definitely are itu Iman tanya pasal fees kan. So if you are been direzekikan slot UPU, your education fees will be 25k. Fees tak termasuk makan, minum dan penginapan. Ini yuran, okay? Yuran pembelajaran sahaja. It's a 25,000 for 5 years if you tak ada extension or repeat ya, okay? But kalau tak ada rezeki tu, dan bukan tak ada rezeki, kalau direzekikan lebih banyak, kalau ada banyak rezeki tu Allah akan bagikan private. So the fees will be 300k and above. Why I generally in private, the range of more than 400, I think more than 350 lah. Tapi for information, public also dia ada slot private. Sebab UPU is a control slot, ditetapkan oleh Kementerian Pendidikan Tinggi. So kalau satu universiti tu, the way the medical school runs is there is a maximum number of medical student you can take set by the medical council, and there is a number that KPT Kementerian allocated for you to take under UPU. UPU is a subsidized. Maksudnya total, kalau tak silap saya tengok semalam, the total amount of actual fees around 60k plus lah. So you will be only paying 25. It's a subsidized slot. So dia akan allocate beberapa post saja. Macam kat UKM is less than is around 110. Ni saya boleh cakap UKM lah. 110. It fluctuate lah, 110, 120 macam tu lah. But it will never be banyak lah. So, but there are always good or excellent student. They still want to do UKM, and the only way is to go through a private route lah. UKM dia ada PKP dia, UM dia ada UMCEED dia dan sebagainya lah. USIM pun ada dia punya private pathway dan lain-lainnya. Mungkin nak kena rujuk pada website masing-masing bila you nak isi borang nantilah. So just be prepared. These are the fees, excluding accommodation, excluding food, and excluding transportation. So ni purely belajar saja. Buku-buku tak masuk lah. So kadang takut kadang kata ada, dia tak ada macam buku textbook pinjaman okay. Because medical textbook is always move with recent information kan. Okay, these are the medical schools in Malaysia. Katakanlah rezeki lagi banyak dan Allah tak takdirkan berada di Malaysia tetapi berada di overseas, ada banyak sebenarnya senarai overseas medical school. You can refer to second schedule of medical act in MMC punya website. Ada banyaklah Arab Saudi, Australia, Bangladesh, Belgium, everything. If you want to send your if you want to go there lah, macam saya kat UK, so I have a list of the UK punya recognize lah. Okay. Why I give this list? Because you must know that if you want to work in Malaysia, your degree must be recognized by the medical council or the NJ, also JPA lah. If you are not recognized, then you have to go through kita panggil licensing exam lah. So bila licensing exam ni dia ada teori, dia ada clinical, is similar to another final exam, and you have it's not I think berapa kali ya. COVID ni banyak dah tegak tu, terganggu jadual dia, but mainly 2 to 3 times a year, and depend on the number of candidate, and obviously there are fees to pay lah in order for you to work. But if you want to continue and working in overseas, you are most welcome. Then you can always come back as a specialist. Kadang-kadang bila student, sebagai contoh lah, UKM and UM student, dia punya degree is recognized by Singapore. So as we know kan sekarang ni isu lambakan graduan. So if they got a offer elsewhere, I just tell them please go, learn whatever you want to learn, improve yourself, then you come back as a specialist and serve the country. So either way you will come back lah. Kalau tak come back pun balik untuk raya pun kan. So ada raya yang kita celebrate lah. Okay. So these are the list of the overseas medical schools. So with all this ada banyak pathways. I mean financial aspect lah that you have to understand lah. Like alhamdulillah, Mara give me some scholarship. There are always a convertible loans. Dulu Mara ada convertible loan. If you score certain performance, you be converted to scholarship. Like mine Mara, it was a convertible loan. Convertible loan, I become a scholarship at the end when I finish. There are also some educational loans, and also you can also apply for PTPTN, and also lastly pharma. Tahu kan pharma ni apa? Father, mother. Okay, pharma. Bukan yang pharma agriculture tu. Ni father dan mother. Okay. Okay, ni yang paling penting. Bila nak masuk perubatan ni, I'm telling you because I have been in charge since 2013 untuk UKM, and these are the kita panggil filtering process in order to filter or to assess candidate to enter medical schools. So this minimum are set by KPT. KPT ni Kementerian Pendidikan Tinggi. But every medical schools have its own entry requirement. Okay, sebagai contoh, kita tengok yang belah kanan tu, okay, kita tengok belah kanan SPM ni. SPM or O level ni is very important. Okay. Asalnya I would say lah one of the program yang masih menilai pada peringkat SPM. They will still see your SPM level. If your SPM ada C, walaupun in mathematics or physics ke, walaupun you tak minat tak minat fizik, you minat di doktor, you fokus pada biology, chemistry, maths you, and then semua bagus, tapi your fizik dapat C, unfortunately you will not be able to enter medical school in Malaysia. Overseas lain saya cerita pasal Malaysia. So these are the minimum entry requirement yang telah ditetapkan. So meaning that you must get minimum of 5 Bs chemistry. But this is KPT minimum requirement. Okay, I repeat, minimum. Each medical school have its own entry. Some of them require good scores in SPM as well as the STPM or matriculation. Kalau kita tengok macam UKM, the CGPA is 3.8, UM 4.00, Others about 3.5, 3.67 banyak lah. And I can only say about UKM lah. Kalau UKM itu even we say at 3.8, the number of applicants exceed 1,000, and we only have 110 places. Last year when we have, I think what 1,500 lah. So last year as in 2019. Ini baru second January kan. So 2019 we conduct we do ada interview and plus minus test ni depend on the university. So we interview lah nearly 1,000 candidates spread about 4 days. But last year COVID time we convert it into video resume. So you still answer the question, but we will judge you from the video that you send to us. And all whatever decision that we made are all of finals. Okay. So these are the entry requirement. This is a must lepas. If you don't get this, they will never be considered as a medical student in Malaysia. Okay, in Malaysia saya kat ni. Sebab ada parents masih tetap hantar kat overseas. Overseas don't have this kind of requirement lah. But whenever come back, it depends on how you come back lah. If you completed your degree and your degree is recognized by Malaysia, you will be absorbed in the perkhidmatan dengan beberapa syarat. Yang tu saya terpulang kepada budi bicara pada waktu tersebut lah. Yang paling biasanya ialah sijil SPM Bahasa Melayu dan Sejarah. Itu memang confirm nak masuk perkhidmatan awam. Okay, this is the minimum entry requirement. And these are your medical education years. To give you a broad view, what you face for 5 years minimum. So every university have divided their years of study into preclinical as well as clinical years. Majority with 2 years preclinical, 3 years clinical years. In preclinical years, you go through basic sciences, subjects like anatomy, biochemistry, pharmacology, physiology, community health, and etc. etc. This can be conducted in lectures form, but nowadays with COVID, we do online lectures, lab session. We still do hands-on lab session, but with strict SOP. PBL session is a problem-based learning session. We're given a problem to solve and to discuss. Then basic clinical skills, communication skills with the patient, and also some small group discussion depend on the subjects. For clinical years, these are all the clinical subjects. Is where you are gearing up to be a doctor. So there are major posting: internal medicine, surgery, orthopedics, obstetrics and gynecology, pediatrics, psychiatry, and some others. Depends on the university how they brand their major posting. And there are some minor posting that you have to go through as well: ENT, ear, nose and throat, ophthalmology, eye, family medicine, anesthesiology, bios, community health, public health. And there are also always basic teaching, seminars, there are work rounds, work and also on-call session for students. And you'll be involved in research, logbooks. And lastly, if you can pass and become and graduated as a doctor, you have to go to professional examination. Apart from this preclinical and clinical subjects, if you are attended in Malaysia, there are university subjects that you must pass or must participate in order to graduate as a medical student. Ini requirement lah. Kalau macam di UKM, maybe Citra subjects. It's a general study subject lah. Okay, macam Tamadun Islam, komunikasi dalam bahasa Inggeris semua lah. Okay, so that is what you will go through in 5 years. Looks overloaded, but dah nak jadi doktor kan. Tak boleh lah nak apa, sikit je nak pick and choose. No, there will be no pick and choose. You must pass everything and you cannot, dia tak macam subjek lain lah. My brother is an engineer kan. Kalau subjek ni tak lepas boleh ganti semester depan, no. You must pass all during that year. If you don't pass, walaupun berjumlah 1 kredit, you have to remedial, or kalau fail lagi, you repeat tahun. That's how itulah lumrah pelajar perubatan lah. You must pass everything in the designated years. Dia tak boleh nak saya nak drop tahun ni, saya nak ambil tahun depan. Tak ada. Dia memang you must go to whatever has been set by the individual medical schools. So just to share some housemanship issues. I think mungkin ada yang dah came across these issues, from doktor to waiter, tak ada kerja, menganggur. Bukanlah menganggur, I would say menunggu posting. Sama ada sebelum ni, before ada isu kontrak ni, menunggu posting biasanya sehingga 18 bulan menunggu posting. Bukan tak bekerja, dia menunggu pekerjaan. So there's sometimes some of the graduate decided to do some odd jobs lah, become a waiter. But there are also housemen that have gone through that quit each year. They cannot stand. Kalau kita tengok awal-awal tadi kan, the main criteria to be doctors tu kena sabar, kena patient. That's why my first sentence tu dia punya minat tu yang sangat tinggi. Bukan saja-saja nak jadi doktor. Sebab tu nak dapat doktor depan, lepas tu dah no. Because it's a very challenging profession. You have to deal with everybody. And when you are a houseman, saya menurut perintah. Okay? Bila menurut perintah ni, you akan menurut perintah kebanyakannya daripada your seniors. Some of other issues are attitude, communication, your skills, physical examination, and obviously stress lah, stress and investment lah. And time management. Time management is very important. At this time, you will not expected to do big decision, but there are always some decision you have to do lah. So which one first, which one second, which one can be put last. Lebih lagi time COVID ni, this is very important, time management. And lastly is the contact issue recently, but I think because you guys is still from 4, Form 5, still a long way to go. There will be another avenue where we talk about contact issue. For information, I just talked to Perubatan Mesir lah last month. Some of the issues are about the contact issues. The one is for graduate to be. For you guys will be at the early stage. Tak perlu fikir hal kerja dulu lah. Yang penting is to get into the medical school first. And on the right side is some of the attitude lah. Sometimes the houseman are very picky, ego towards other healthcare workers. Please don't. Even you are a doctor, the nurses and the PKs and the assistants will make your life easy or even easier. But if you are ego towards them, they will make your life very hard. Kalau dia banyak tolong dia orang, baik dengan dia orang, insyaAllah you have a very good relationship with your colleagues. InsyaAllah everything will be quite smooth. And obviously the doctor-patient relationship, you must know how to deal with patient. There are always barriers, there are always do's and don'ts. Talking to patient relative, silap cakap kena saman, salah cakap kena saman, tak cakap pun kena saman. Itu yang masalahnya. Sebab patient or public will see us as a very important person yang boleh membantu dalam perawatan pesakit. So if you say something, you have to be careful. If you say nothing, also you have to be careful. Yang paling penting, you must know how to have a very good communication with your patient. Money is always an issue. Obviously, I think from yesterday ada gaji kan, process controller kan. Housemanship, your first year's houseman always will be a government servant. So maybe starting about 4K to 5K, kena pandai dan bijak mengawal kewangan lah. Dengan first gaji tu terus beli BMW. So BMW tu banyak makan wang. Dia akan makan wang you banyak-banyak. So just buy and educate transportation method that you can afford lah. And family and parents, when you start working, obviously time with parents will be less, but if you know how to manage your time properly, you can spend most time with your parents. And bagi yang family, macam saya kahwin waktu belajar, then you must know how to manage your time with your family. Lagi-lagi bila ada anak lah. And housing and location, how you choose your posting and everything, kena faham, kena tahu, kena bijak bila sampai waktunya lah. Please ask others, please ask your seniors, please ask your kalau time waktu saya form 4, form 5 tu, you ask your counsellors lah. Some people want to say stay in Klang Valley, someone want to go back to the hometown, contoh Kelantan ke Terengganu, but someone are very adventurous, they want to start working in Sabah, Sarawak, depends, and so on and so forth lah. Banyak isunya. Yang ni Q&A kot. Okay. So just a quick one, I think depan ni all of you will be served some topics by our fellow nephrologist, plastic surgeon, Dr. Arman tu, and then psychiatrist. But just want to quickly show you the specialization pathway. When you become a medical officer within 2 to 5 years, you can choose either you want to be a clinical, okay, 4 to 7 years masters, and then you proceed to subspecialty. Kalau contoh kita ambil surgery, clinical master surgery, 4 to 7 years, then you can subspecialize either in cardiothoracic surgery or whatever. Tapi kalau untuk plastic surgery ataupun pediatric surgery, dia ada quick pathway towards subspecialty. That one nanti Dr. Arman akan beritahu lah. And then the non-clinical masters is yang anatomy, especially pakar dalam anatomy, biochemistry, and even in my own area in medical education. Medical education has its own specialization, and we also have our own PhD. So this is the two pathway, whether you want to continue clinical ni hospital medicine, and non-clinical is non-patient based lah. To the main differentiation between the two. So either you want to be a GP, to be an orthopedic ni dah, ada gaji, ada tukul kan, then or you want to be a obs and gynae or a neurosurgeon, or you're going to be anything. But obviously semua ni sangat-sangat diperlukan. Okay. These are the specialization in clinical yang di Malaysia ni yang saya makan tahun lepas. Okay. Anesthesiology, emergency medicine, forensik dan seterusnya sehingga ke transfusion medicine. This is a clinical punya specialization, and this one is master and PhD non-clinical topics. Kalau dulu tak sebanyak ni sebenarnya. Dulu biasa go for surgery, medicine, psychiatry, obstetrics, pediatrics kan. But now there's a lot of choices for all our young doctor to be or specialist to be. Ada banyaklah option. Dan kalau kurang berminat berjumpa pesakit, then you can go into your non-clinical lah. Tapi pesakit tu ada yang pesakit hidup dengan pesakit mati tau. Jangan lupa. Pesakit hidup yang lain, yang matinya forensik lah. Tapi forensik bukanlah saya nak mengatakan forensik, tapi forensik ni satu bidang yang sangat-sangat mencabar. I think siapa yang kenal lah, my batch, Dr. Hafizam Blair, is memang top forensik kat Malaysia. Memang hebat lah, from the way they boleh tengokkan kes-kes kematian kan. Saya pun terlibat dalam kes Asia, kes Ali Bomba semua tu. So memang saya tabik lah forensik. And that is our batch, my batch, SPM, budak-budak type batch typing forensic medicine, forensic specialist. Maybe you can invite him lah. Okay. So every single specialty, sama ada clinical ataupun non-clinical ni, have their own star ataupun bidang dia ataupun how I say kepentingan dia. Okay, nuclear medicine, how to treat the recent technology, and transfusion medicine, berkenaan dengan darah, aviation medicine in army, even in non-clinical ada law and ethics, health informatics. Health informatics is very, very, very important, especially in COVID-19. How do you predict the yang R0 tu? So this one, apart from community health with the clinical part, they also health informatics and everything. Semua ni memang terlibat dan dia have their own forte. Macam saya medical education, walaupun tak nampaklah clinicalnya, tapi kalau saya bagi tahu, my area is where I do curriculum review, I do curriculum development, I develop curriculum for other medical schools. I do accreditation, I do assessment, how to assess medical student, how to assess clinical, physical examination semua, and even I also provide some guidance to the teachers how to teach in medical education and so on and so forth. So ada banyak lah. So generally it's a lifelong learning. Basic medical degree take 5 years. Your HOMO will take 3 years. Your postgraduate will take another 4 years. Specialization another 2 to 4 years. Subspecialty 2 to 4 years. It's a continuing professional development and a duration of more than 15 years. Macam if you go back tadi kan ada yang nak drive Porsche kan. Saya kata at that time saya masih MO kot rasanya waktu tu. Saya masih belum boleh afford Porsche. Tapi sekarang ni pun saya dah bekerja selama 16 atau 17 tahun sebagai doktor pun, I've decided not to buy Porsche. Okay, sometimes there are always kita panggil kepentingan dalam hidup kan, some priorities in your life that you will decide lah. But if you have a lot of money, tak salahnya kalau you nak drive Porsche. Okay. Yang paling penting in terms of lifelong learning, improve yourself, specialize, and if you can further specialize, sub-specialize, and do some other value courses to increase your self-value. And I still have to say about this, sometimes maybe you still passionate now, but bila dah sampai go through all 5 years and then go through HO, MO, and you decided you want to go out from non-medical related job, it's okay, don't worry. Everybody have his own priorities. Sometimes there are always life incidents that can come across our life and can change our course of life sebenarnya. Even myself, initially when I went back, I want to do 2 things. One is academic, one is surgery. Tapi surgery tak jodoh dengan surgery tak perpanjangan. So now I'm in medical education in academic. Now alhamdulillah I've completed until I'm now lah. Okay. So jangan rasa terlalu hampa, but yang paling penting, do not make your own decision without consulting. Without consulting whether your parents, your family, kalau melibatkan spouses, and the main thing is if you have access to counselor, please do talk to them. Okay. And bear in mind, okay, being a doctor, saya cakap awal lah, this is my last slide. You will be rich. Okay. You will be rich. Jangan risau. You will be rich. Some of my colleagues dapat offer 160k per month punya gaji, and dia tolak tu, dia offer lagi 250k per month. 4 bulan jutawan, 4 bulan jutawan, 4 bulan jutawan, setahun 3 juta. Okay, ni possible. Ni after many years lah, bukan dah lebih doktor tu dah dikaya kan. Tapi you will be rich. But do not forget to infak or even sedekah and pay zakat. Dalam surah Al-Ma'arij, manusia diciptakan bersifat keluh kesah dan kedekut. Kedekut. Apabila dia tertimpa kesusahan, dia akan mengeluh. Dan apabila mendapat kebaikan, dia akan kedekut. That's Allah dah bagi tahu dalam surah Al-Ma'arij. Kekayaan bukanlah banyak harta. Namun kekayaan sebenarnya adalah hati yang sentiasa berasa cukup. Hadis Bukhari dan Muslim. Dan dari surah Al-Baqarah ayat 261, perumpamaan nafkah ataupun infak dikeluarkan oleh orang yang menafkahkan hartanya pada jalan Allah sama dengan sebutir benih yang menumbuhkan 7 tangkai, dan pada setiap tangkai ada 100 biji. Allah melipat gandakan pajaran bagi siapa yang dikehendaki. Dan Allah Maha luas kurnianya dan lagi mengetahui. With what we have seen during this COVID era, kita nampak ramai orang menyumbang. And saya tidak boleh menidakkan yang paling menyelaskan ini adalah contohlah seorangnya Ustaz Abid Liu. I think recently dia belikan 150 kursi roda kan. Dia beli dan dia bagi. Lepas tu I think semalam kot dia sponsor 1,200 paket KFC kepada frontliners in Maibs. Itu bagi free tu. You can imagine lah how much it cost. But apa semua yang dibagi tu Allah akan ganti. Dan Allah berjanji dalam Al-Baqarah, ya, sebutir benih menumbuhkan 7 tangkai. Setiap tangkai 100 biji. You can imagine how much tangkai yang Ustaz Abid boleh tambahkan daripada satu benih yang ditanam. So please, you will be rich. All daughters will be rich. But please don't forget to impact masyarakat. Okay. And lastly, I will say thank you again to the organizer for inviting me. So as always, kita jaga kita lah. Apa yang DG selalu kata, we have to protect our household, we have to protect our country, maintain your SOP, kita jaga kita. And with that, wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Right, Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Dr. Numan. Of course, now we move on to the Q&A session. Okay, so we have a question from Miswa Rashid. For anyone else who has questions, please do ask through the chat box, through Zoom, and if through FB Live, just put in your questions through the comment section. Okay, so from Miswa Rashid, dalam banyak-banyak bidang klinikal, yang mana paling diperlukan buat masa sekarang?
Oh, dan dalam banyak-banyak klinikal mana yang diperlukan sebanyak sekarang, macam mana nak cakap if you ask me last year, last in 2019, it will be a different answer. But when we have gone through COVID ni, we need everybody. We need the specialist. Okay, contoh COVID. Kita ambil contoh senang lah. Realiti sekarang is COVID. COVID is a respiratory problem. So when it's a problem, it's a medical. You need an internal medical specialist yang specialize and subspecialize in respiratory medicine. Itu satu. But in order to detect that, you need a community health specialist. Nak tengok contact tracingnya, informatics specialist, how to predict the R0 semua. And with that, you need someone in management, how to control everything. Apa yang HQ buat. So, nak kata sekarang ni, everybody is needed. Everybody is needed. Please do specialize. Yang paling penting ialah you betul-betul berminat dalam bidang yang nak cuba lah. Kalau you nak surgery, okay, contoh kalau if anything happen, obviously accident tetap berlaku, you need an orthopedic. And bila ada operation, regardless of whether you're orthopedic ke, ENT ke, ophthalmology ke, ataupun general surgery, ONG, pediatric surgery, plastic surgery, there always a 1% that you really need, pakar bius. Pakar bius sakit, pakar bius down, everything's down. So kalau nak kata pakar bius, boleh jugalah. Dia diperlukan oleh semua orang surgical base. Tapi actually semua diperlukan. It depends, yang paling penting bukanlah kita nak, saya tak galakkan lah kalau kata, contohlah saya bagi contoh, surgery sekian-sekian ni diperlukan, you nak cuba. No, you tak boleh nak cuba. You kena masukkan, and if you really want to get into it, you proceed. Kalau you saja-saja, takut nanti you kecewa lah. Okay.
Alright, thank you, Dr. Nurman. I think if has a follow-up question, just please ask ahead. Actually, I have a question sendiri. Tadi saya nampak, sebab saya bidang accounting, so saya tak faham. Apa beza bila jadi house officer dengan medical officer? I mean, like dari segi responsibility semua tu.
Okay. Kalau secara kasarnya house officer ni saya menurut perintah. Kalau medical officer ni saya memberi perintah. It's a senior position lah. House officer ialah bahasa Melayu ialah doktor pelatih, yang mana you have to go through 6 rotation, 4 months each for 2 years, where each rotation yang wajib ialah medicine, surgery, orthopedic, pediatric, ONG, and also pilihan will be psychiatry, emergency medicine, anesthesiology, family medicine. So untuk melengkapkan 6 posting selama 2 tahun. So this is considered as your training base. Your responsibility mainly on patient in the wards. You will club a lot of patient and biasanya do bloods and everything to increase your skills. Then you will be overshadowed or supervised by a medical officer. So you akan ada medical officer yang akan memantau, dan tentunya akan dipantau oleh specialist dan konsultan lah. Itu pada houseman. Tapi bila you pada MO, you are jadi fully registered, you boleh you dah pendaftaran penuh dan you akan memilih you punya bidang, tapi kena ingat you akan ada juga houseman di bawah you lah. So you tetap akan kena juga guide your junior houseman kalau HO tak boleh buat. Contohnya paling simple, kalau HO diminta untuk ambil darah untuk seorang pesakit, HO dah cuba 3 kali, cuba 4 kali, 5 kali, 10 kali tak dapat, then MO kena try lah. Kadang-kadang MO, kalau saya dulu waktu MO saya ada houseman saya kata please try 3 times. Sebab kalau you try semua tempat, saya sebagai MO nanti tak ada peluang nak cucuk kat mana. Kalau semua tempat dia dah cucuk. So saya akan bagi, I will guide my houseman, okay, please try 3 times. Kalau you tak dapat, please call me so that I can try. So I have other places to try lah. Macam tu lah waktu saya MO. You have to guide them kat mana increase their skills and everything lah. So that's the difference between HO and MO lah. Satu masih dalam pelatih, satu dah fully registered.
Alright, thank you. Okay, so soalan from Baim, ada banyak jenis medical degree macam MBBS, BMBS, MBCHB, and so on. And of course MD. Tapi apa beza all of these degrees?
Okay. Ini soalan yang sangat common yang saya tanya. When we talk about Malaysia punya sistem, Malaysia ada MBBS dan MD. Okay. So MBBS dan MD is considered di Malaysia adalah first degree first degree lah, bachelor degree untuk perubatan. Itu di Malaysia. Okay. Di overseas ada BMBS, macam saya punya degree di Sheffield, MBCHB, MBBCH, so MB, biasalah Bachelor of Chemistry. Macam contoh kalau di Ireland, MBCHB BAO, Bachelor of Obstetric tu, semua tu maksudnya sama, ialah first degree medical bila masuk Malaysia. Okay, we're talking about Malaysian context. MD, macam contoh USM is MD lah. Kalau UKM pakai MD juga, MD UKM, tapi di UM maksudnya MBS. MD di Malaysia is first degree. Jangan confuse dengan MD overseas. MDC is medical doctorate. It's a higher degree. So kalau you dapat MD from overseas, usually is a higher level lah. Setakat yang saya tahu ialah medical doctorate lah. It's a higher level, melibatkan research semua lah. Tapi kalau MD local, you will be first degree. Dan adik saya baca ni, tengok kalau buat HO di luar negara, bila boleh balik Malaysia, bila balik Malaysia boleh terus jadi MO, it depends on the requirement. Macam saya kata tadi, the requirement ada 6 posting wajib. If you done all of this, then you can come back as an MO straight away lah. Tapi kalau you belum buat, you have to do that posting first before you be fully as MO di Malaysia. Tapi dengan syarat ada banyak dia punya requirement yang perlu dilalui semua. Okay.
Alright. Lepas tu kan nak masuk lepas tu bila nak masuk medicine macam kena lalu interview kan. Usually soalan apa yang not besides macam tell us about yourself tu, specifically towards medicine, apa yang macam usually akan keluar ataupun ditanya?
Asalnya tak dengar sangat tadi. Apa tadi?
Oh, okay. Apa dalam interview, soalan apa yang specifically macam patut study lah before interview?
Okay. Kalau dulu, people will ask about why do you want to do medicine, kenapa buat perubatan. Macam saya kata awal tadi lah, saya perubatan sebab saya minat perubatan. Datuk saya sakit, nenek saya sakit, mak saya sakit, bapak saya sakit dan saya nak merawat. Kalau jawab yang tu memang saya kata reject teruslah. Sebab ethics in medical, you cannot treat your own family members. Saja je, okay. So basically, interview now, we don't know, I would say we no longer ask about that cliche question anymore. We do ask about situational questions sekarang ni. Macam contoh, saya ambil contoh lah, kalau you terlibat dalam satu isu dengan kawan-kawan you, how will you act and how will you advise your friends? So from that we will see how your thinking method, your higher order thinking, HOTS, kebat kemahiran berfikir aras tinggi, how you negotiate with your friends, how you deal with the issues. Macam contoh, seorang kawan kena accident, tapi dia kata kalau dia tak datang kelas sehari, dia akan dibuang daripada pengajian, boleh tak tolong signkan register untuk dia. So how will you deal with that? Dan macam saya dah involved, I think about 7 years student selection in UKM. There are some students who say, saya akan tolong dan tandakan. Memang ada. But some others will say, saya akan berbincang dan sebagainya lah. So we tend to know how your thinking process of the situation. Sometimes you'll be given 5 to 10 minutes how you deal with the situational question that we give to you lah. Macam tu. Sekarang ni dah tak lagi macam dulu, nak pilih mana, nak jadi apa, semua tak. Sebab benda tu semua orang boleh jawab, minta maaf cakap. Saya dah nampak student yang datang untuk interview, dia ada skrip panjang lebar. Kalau jawab dia macam ni dah jawapan dia. Kalau soalan macam ni dah jawapan dia. Saya pun tengoklah, ya Allah, saya apa jadi doktor, jawapan dia ni, jawab ni. Dia hafal kat luar bilik interview tu. Tapi we don't ask that kind of question anymore lah untuk yang zaman yang terkini lah. Because we follow what is the practice elsewhere in overseas juga. Okay?
Okay. So nampak macam format dia tak boleh nak hafal, which obviously tak patut hafal lah kan. Tapi macam mana students bila nak do well in interview, macam mana diorang boleh asahkan their HOTS lah.
Okay. Dia kadang-kadang it goes back to the, macam saya kata awal tadi, the nature of the person. Sama ada orang tu jenis yang suka menolong, we can judge that person that dia boleh dia macam ni okay, macam contohlah okay, orang yang biasa kalau level saya yang biasa terlibat dalam NGO kan, non-governmental organisation, so saya macam Matrix My, Perang Melawan Mitos dan sebagainya. When you ask them to tell the story of what they have done in their life, let's say in NGO helping patient kan, cara dia cerita tu nampak genuine tau. Sebab you pernah buat. Bayangkan dengan yalah, pelakon lain, ceritalah pelakon dia memang dibayar untuk berlakon. Tapi kalau you nak melakonkan benda yang you create in your mind, there is always the signs that Muhammad ni saja je kentong banyak je ni. Dia saja je create sebab when you ask something, dia payah nak menjawab follow through question. That's how we can identify people whether is it genuine the answer or just kita panggil soalan jawapan rekaan lah. So it has to come up from that person by itself. Maksudnya kalau orang tu jenis yang suka menolong, suka buat kerja-kerja volunteering work, kalau contoh voluntary work lah, so senang dia nak menjawab dan we tend to go for that kind of people lah sebenarnya. Tapi kena bear in mind, bukanlah nak kata this is a fix ni, but you can always create and teach yourself to be passionate, to be interested in medicine as well. Kalau kadang-kadang ada orang rajin ni, dia beza-beza tau. Orang yang rajin ni, dia rajin membaca pasal perubatan dengan rajin pergi attachment ke GP ke hospital. Itu ada beza dia. Walaupun dua-dua minat perubatan, satu membaca, satu go through. Itu ada beza dia. Macam itulah.
Oh, okay. Okay, daripada Baim, dari segi education fund, masih banyakkah available untuk medical education untuk peringkat first degree local dan overseas?
Yang tu maksudnya kena tanya orang kat atas kot. Kena tanya management lah whether they have still got fund or not. But I believe there might be some fund. Untuk first degree might be limited, but specialist degree insyaAllah ada. Sebab sekarang ni banyak company-company ataupun badan-badan persendirian swasta yang start sponsoring postgraduate. Sometimes you just need to spend something for your first degree, and then insyaAllah the financial aspect of your postgraduate will be covered lah. Tapi tak tahulah Mara mungkin ada lagi ke tidak. Tapi educational loan tu masih ada lah. PTPTN tu rasanya masih ada lagi. Tapi dia takkan cover semua. Dia akan cover some of it. So it's up to you how to manage your money. Sorry to say, some just dapat duit just spend terus macam-macam benda dah. Tapi some, if they know how to manage your money well, they can have a very good life in medical lah. Tak perlu nak fikir sangat pasal tak bayar yuran dan sebagainya lah.
Okay. Alright, thank you. I think tu je kot soalan yang kita ada and dah pukul 10 dah. So before I end, I would like to say first, thank you very much Dr. Nurman for being our guest speaker for tonight. Sangat-sangat informatif. Saya kalau saya nak ambil medicine pun saya macam sangat berguna lah. Kemudian nak ucapkan terima kasih kepada Cikgu Marsuria dengan Cikgu Saadah, cikgu yang mengajar Dr. Nurman kan?
Ulang balik.
Cikgu Marsuria dengan Cikgu Saadah ada dalam Zoom sekarang. Ada.
Cikgu Marsuria tu kira mak angkat lah kat MSN. Cikgu Saadah banyak membantu dari segi nasihat-nasihat semua dah. Waktu tu masih kontak lagi, masih lagi melawat jika ada kesempatan lah. Dan terima kasihlah kepada semua cikgu di MISM lah yang banyak mengajar sehingga saya sampai ke sini lah.
Hebat. Cikgu-cikgu yang hebat. Betul.
Cikgu sangat hebat lah.
Betul. Of course, before we end, saya nak promote YouTube channel Ansara Tepin TV. So do subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to be updated on our latest videos. Alright, so rasanya itu sahaja. So kita akhiri majlis dengan tasbih kifarah dan suratul as. Thank you so much, Dr.
Terima kasih.